The story unfolds in a fictional world. In the early years, before color TVs became prevalent, robots already possessed thoughts and emotions and could work in various fields. Later, more advanced simulacra were developed. They shared the human-like qualities of robots, but differed in that they had a more lifelike appearance. By scanning one's face, one could create a personal simulacrum and transfer memories to it. The only difference was that it had a mechanical skeleton and a hole in its ear. Over the next few decades, robots became increasingly capable, participating in the Olympics, venturing into space, and serving as police officers. They could even detonate nuclear warheads in Los Angeles, instantly killing 1 million humans. Well, that capability wasn't exactly better. So the United States legislated to ban all robots and spent 10 years completely destroying them. However, in the countries of New Asia, robots and humans still coexisted, not only upgrading them but also granting them human rights. The difference between New Asia and traditional Asia lay in New Asia's integration of a large number of robots and simulacra. Consequently, the United States went to war with New Asia, claiming they didn't want to fight the people of New Asia, but to annihilate all its robots, which they deemed a threat to humanity, even if these robots were within another country's borders. By 2065, in New Asia, a black man named Joshua, who was part of the U.S. Special Forces, originally came to New Asia as an undercover agent. Ironically, during this mission, he fell in love with an Asian woman and married her. He wanted to continue his undercover work while protecting his wife, but soon, he would lose her. This was due to the U.S. deploying an airborne fortress named Nomad, which launched missiles from space. Every time a blue light appeared on the ground, it was targeting that spot. One day, Nomad conducted a bombing raid near Joshua's home. A missile struck, killing everyone within several kilometers. Joshua, who was far enough away, survived. 5 years later, Joshua returned to the U.S., where his new job involved returning to the nuclear blast area in Los Angeles to clear radiation remnants and recycle the robots for scrap. One evening, a U.S. general visited him to assign a crucial mission. According to intelligence, New Asia had developed a secret weapon specifically designed to destroy Nomad. At this critical juncture of the war, it was imperative to destroy this secret weapon to protect Nomad. Joshua coldly smiled, saying it would be better if Nomad were gone. It was what killed his wife. The general revealed that his wife was actually still alive. The proof was a VCR tape recorded 2 days ago. Joshua's wife was a designer and was also involved in the development of the secret weapon. The U.S. military was planning to use Nomad to bomb the secret weapon location, potentially killing all the scientists there. If Joshua agreed to participate in this operation, the general could arrange for him to rescue his wife first. Joshua, eager to see his wife, immediately signed up. The military had a rough idea of the secret weapon's location, and Joshua and his teammates were to infiltrate the area, pinpoint the weapon's exact coordinates, and then call in Nomad to destroy it. The Special Forces team parachuted into the mission area, holding locals at gunpoint to demand the location of the secret weapon. The locals were terrified but did not betray any information. This wasn't due to a language barrier but because New Asia was united in its hatred of the U.S. military. Fortunately, Joshua, using his undercover experience, guessed that a Buddha statue was a mechanism. A gentle twist opened a secret door to a research base. Upon entering, the U.S. troops killed on sight. Some scientists activated blast doors while attempting to save their colleagues and cursed in Asian languages. A U.S. soldier chuckled coldly, knowing the blast door operated with facial recognition, and cut off a corpse's face to open it. Joshua, having some conscience, did not participate in the massacre but found the legendary secret weapon. This weapon was secured behind multiple doors and had a special presence. When Joshua opened the last door, he expected something significant but found only a TV, a sofa, and a simulacrum. A little girl. Was the secret weapon a simulacrum girl? As Joshua was shocked, a scientist took the girl outside. Joshua and the girl fled to the surface, where chaos had erupted due to the U.S. troops killing too many people, attracting New Asia's robotic police for a fierce firefight. Many U.S. soldiers died, communication broke down, and intelligence couldn't be relayed properly, leading to a significant mistake. They hadn't even confirmed what the secret weapon was when they called Nomad to bomb the research base. The missile was minutes away, and they had to run for their lives. In the last moments, a team member managed to climb onto a plane, but unbeknownst to him, a robotic police had attached a time bomb to him. This led to the near annihilation of the team. Joshua, however, wasn't on that plane. After all, he was there to find his wife. Before he knew it, Nomad's missile struck the research base. killing all the scientists inside. But Joshua was far enough away to escape. When he awoke, it was morning, and the little girl was nearby, watching TV. She was obsessed with the TV. When Joshua turned it off, she would press her hands together, remotely turning it back on as if she could control it with her mind. This convinced Joshua that she was indeed the secret weapon. According to U.S. orders, Joshua was supposed to kill the girl, but he wasn't there for the U.S. military's mission. He was there to save his wife. In conversations with the girl, named Alfie, Joshua learned that she seemed to know where his wife was. Why only seemed? Because Alfie had the mental age of a 2 or 3-year-old, and children of that age are not clear communicators. He needed to patiently coax the information out. Joshua decided to take her with him to slowly find his wife's location. During their journey, they encountered a pair of robotic police officers from New Asia who tracked down Joshua and opened fire, also throwing a grenade. Joshua was hiding in a local farmer's village, and a dog, thinking the robots were playing a game, fetched the bomb back, blowing up all the robotic police. Joshua drove off with Alfie to find his wife. Their first challenge was the police. As he smuggled through a checkpoint, he aroused police suspicion. At this moment, Alfie pressed her hands together, causing a power outage in a 100-meter radius. She then controlled the car to launch forward, boldly breaking through the checkpoint. Thrillingly, they slipped into a city in New Asia, which was already issuing warrants for Joshua. Indeed, locals were reporting him, but it would take some time for the police to arrive. Joshua took the opportunity to visit a local friend, a tech expert working in a simulacrum factory and dating a simulacrum. After examining Alfie, the friend discovered that she was a highly advanced simulacrum, unique and capable of growth. Currently, she could only control specific electronic devices nearby, but eventually, she could control all electronic devices globally. As they spoke, the police of New Asia arrived, cunningly disguised as delivery men, but when you opened the package, it was a bomb. The friend's girlfriend was killed instantly. Joshua hid and killed the robotic police one by one. Then he and Alfie hit the road again. Coincidentally, they encountered New Asia's resistance force along the way. The resistance commander, named Haroon, was also a simulacrum. He was good friends with Joshua's wife and thus knew many secrets. For instance, Alfie was personally developed by his wife, and they were as close as mother and daughter. Alfie's purpose was to disarm global weapons and bring world peace. Also, the nuclear explosion in Los Angeles years ago was actually a bug caused by the U.S. itself, which then blamed it on the robots. New Asia was different. They would win against the West but would never harm Western people because they only wanted peace. As Haroon spoke, his boat reached the Resistance's base, a large fishing village bustling and vibrant, where the locals could have lived peacefully. But just then, the U.S. military's Nomad had bombed again, injuring many innocents, who were now being urgently treated. The locals were becoming desperate, but Haroon encouraged them, saying that everything would be fine once Alfie attacked, and one day, she would be able to directly destroy Nomad. Although she still needed time to grow, that night, the resistance suddenly sounded an alarm. Someone shouted that the U.S. military was attacking because they always wanted to destroy Alfie, the secret weapon. Recently, they had learned through intelligence that Alfie was in the fishing village, so they sent the army. They used smoke bombs to cover their tracks, but to limited effect. Everyone could see the jungle in the distance collapsing. It was the U.S. military's giant tanks clearing a path. They flattened the city area, and the resistance lost its defensive positions, exposed under U.S. firepower. These tanks were armed all over, a huge cannon on the right, missile launchers on the left, and a blue light in the center for guidance. It seemed to target only military personnel and spare civilians. But missiles, once launched, killed indiscriminately, hitting both military and civilians. This further intensified New Asia's fighting spirit. They threw remote-controlled bombs at close range, and even if the bomber died, monkeys would pick them up and detonate them. The fighters of New Asia knew they could win this war, but not by fighting a group battle. Instead, they needed to prolong the conflict and broaden the battlefield. Some engaged in guerrilla warfare on the battlefield while others took the opportunity to retreat. The U.S. military's offensive was like a hammer hitting cotton. It achieved no effect. The U.S. military had robots with self-awareness, but these were suicide robots. They were afraid of death and reluctant to self-destruct. However, they had complex feelings towards their mechanics, such as love, obedience, and fear. So, after repeated orders from the mechanics, they had no choice but to obey. They moved swiftly and unstoppable, and the resistance's bullets were ineffective, while they directly broke through the lines and self-destructed where the crowd was densest. These suicide robots came one after another, causing heavy losses to the resistance. Alfie couldn't stand it and used her abilities to control one, but it was a drop in the ocean. The U.S. military had too many suicide robots, and she was knocked unconscious during the battle. Haroon didn't want Alfie to be hurt by the war anymore because her abilities were needed to eventually destroy the U.S. military's Nomad, so he let some soldiers delay the U.S. military while he took Joshua and Alfie to retreat. This was actually perfect for Joshua since he wanted Alfie to continue leading the way to help him find his wife. After traveling by land and water, they finally reached a religious site where they found his wife. However, no one expected that she had become a vegetative person. The monks explained that it was the U.S. bombing 5 years ago that had done this to her. For 5 years, she had shown no signs of improvement, unable to wake up or reincarnate. It seemed that the U.S. military had completely lied about his wife being alive, just to use her to lure Joshua into the squad to utilize the intelligence he had gathered as an undercover agent. Joshua was heartbroken. He and Alfie both loved this woman, but neither could save her. They hugged each other and cried, unanimously deciding to turn off her life support and let her pass on to the next life. But before they could recover from their grief, the religious site's alarms went off. The U.S. military, relentless, had pursued them again, this time by air. The leader was a ruthless female colonel who had killed many civilians, and she was ready to kill even more to capture Alfie. Could no one hold her accountable? Haroon could. He secretly launched an attack. The U.S. military shot a hole in his chest, but his time bomb had already hit the colonel. The U.S. military was in disarray, trying to disarm the bomb as they were about to die together. Ironically, Alfie, being kind-hearted, used her abilities to temporarily stop the bomb, but the U.S. military mistook her action as an attack and tried to kill her. In the end, Joshua interrupted Alfie, and the colonel and the U.S. military were blown up. Joshua couldn't get over his wife's death, so he took her memory card. This was a piece of contemporary black technology, storing his wife's memories from her lifetime, a small foreshadowing. At this point in the story, Joshua's phase of rescuing his wife had ended. He no longer wanted to collude with the U.S. military, so he planned to personally destroy Nomad. But time was tight. Before he could finalize his plan, the U.S. military captured Alfie. Although Joshua detested the U.S. military, he didn't show it. So the military didn't realize he had defected and still thought he was one of their own. When the U.S. military executed Alfie, they specifically asked Joshua to carry out the death sentence. Joshua seized the opportunity to tamper with the process. He put Alfie into hibernation instead of destroying her. The military, foolishly, was about to transport Alfie's corpse for disposal. She woke up midway and easily escaped. Joshua took her to the airport, and they boarded an airship heading for Nomad. Nomad was a space station the U.S. military had spent 10 years building, the only one of its kind. It hovered in near-Earth space, unreachable by others, while it could freely bomb anyone. Inside, the space station was like a city, complete with scientific research, military, and agriculture facilities. The U.S. military intended to remotely control the airship Joshua was on to return it to base, but it was ineffective. After all, Alfie could forcibly control electronic devices, and the airship only obeyed her. The military had no choice but to think of another way, guarding the landing port with Nomad's guards. As the airship entered the landing port and all passengers disembarked, Alfie did not come out. The guards, curious, went in to check but fell into an ambush. Joshua opened the ship's hatch, sucking them into space. The few who didn't die were unable to fight anymore, and Joshua faced no more obstacles as he began to plant explosives inside Nomad. The military was desperate and had Nomad target all of New Asia's bases, launching all its missiles. Joshua had to quickly place the bombs while Alfie struggled to control Nomad and stop the missile launch. During their efforts, Nomad was also busy. On one side, scientists used escape pods to evacuate, and on the other, missiles were being launched one by one. Joshua, determined to install the bombs, even climbed onto one of the missiles. Just as the missile was about to launch, Alfie finally gained control of the ship and stopped the launch. Joshua's bomb placement was successful, and the timed explosives were set to detonate in 10 minutes. They had to hurry to escape. Alfie, while fleeing, accidentally entered an AI research lab and was astonished to find a heap of simulacra, all replicas of Joshua's wife. The room's name probably indicated that they were for research purposes. Remember, Joshua had taken his wife's memory card. Alfie now had it and inserted it into one of the simulacrum's brains, hoping to awaken her. Unfortunately, The simulacrum was too slow to start up, and time was too tight. Alfie had no time to wait for her to boot up and had to go with Joshua to the escape pods. Meanwhile, the U.S. military controlled a loading machine to attack them. This machine, with 6 mechanical arms floating around, resembled a giant mechanical octopus. Although it didn't hurt the two, it damaged the escape pod's door. After Alfie controlled the machine, she found herself locked inside the escape pod, while Joshua was locked outside. Because the door was damaged, her abilities couldn't open it, and they both struggled with the door. The timed bombs had already started exploding in a chain reaction, and Nomad was minutes away from disintegrating. They had no time to delay. Joshua launched Alfie's escape pod. One would return to Earth, and the other would ascend to heaven. The military had already launched many missiles, which needed to connect with Nomad to hit their targets accurately. Indeed, 1 or 2 unfortunately hit, but most were still on their way. Due to Nomad's collapse, those missiles lost control and fell to the ground as duds. Joshua was trapped in Nomad's vegetation area. As the space station disintegrated, he aimlessly wandered through the plant area and unexpectedly encountered a figure. It was his wife's simulacrum. She had just completed startup, and because the memory card was inserted, although her body was a copy, her emotions were as genuine as when she was alive. The vegetation made them feel as if they were back on Earth, frozen in an afternoon when they first met. As Nomad continued to collapse, it split in two and collided, releasing a massive explosion. At that moment, Joshua and his love merged into one. When the dust settled, the wreckage of Nomad scattered everywhere. The United States, having lost this superweapon, could no longer bomb New Asia indiscriminately. The war was essentially over, and the people of New Asia raised their weapons and red flags, shouting "Long live." Haroon was also in the celebrating crowd, very relieved. Earlier, he had indeed been shot through, but don't forget he was a simulacrum. A mere mortal wound was trivial to him. Alfie's escape pod slowly descended. She opened the hatch and saw the wreckage of Nomad falling to the ground, the debris burning fiercely. This was a man-made rain of fire, which had once caused great suffering but also sparked human brilliance. After the storm, the land of Asia became even more fertile, and its growth was unstoppable.